Testing. 1, 2. Testing. 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 1, 2, 3. Okay, everyone, welcome back to another week of EECS 440. It's good to see you. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, what was due today? Anyone know? It changed a little bit. What was due today? Yes? Yes, Exploration VR. Exploration AR would be due today, but we have to have time for your HoloLens sessions. There's going to be another HoloLens session tonight from 6 to 8, okay? In order to finish Exploration AR, you need to get at least 5 minutes with those HoloLens headsets. You interact with a few apps. I think you'll really like it. And you snap a selfie, and then you're done, okay? We'll also have another HoloLens session tomorrow evening, okay? I think 6 to 7 o'clock. You can check the schedule for that. Today, our main mission is going to be to sort of do syllabus day, okay? We're going to go through some course logistics, make sure that you're aware of certain policies in the course, and then we're going to talk about the Viz Studio, okay? Some tales from the Viz Studio. This space we're in, it is a fantastic, incredible resource, but it is not without its quirks and its friction, okay? And using this resource properly will dramatically speed you up in this course on your assignments, on your projects, all that good stuff, okay? So before we really get into it, though, we have our first XR company, okay? And this is one of my favorites. This one's actually made by a friend of mine, Joe Go. This is Wide Awake VR. So you say to yourself, well, okay, what is VR for? It's for video games, right? Well, maybe not, but maybe not so much. It's for other things as well. Education, socialization. What about anesthesia? It's kind of a strange use case, isn't it? This is a company that seeks to replace anesthesia, and instead, we're going to distract you with VR so that you don't feel the doctors digging into your hand, okay? And if that seems like, wow, that's not going to work, well, you might be surprised. Let's take a look. This is Wide Awake VR. The patient experience reimagined. Imagine a better, safer, less costly, more sustainable patient experience. And you can see right here, patients put the headset on while a doctor goes to work doing their operation. Wide Awake VR, or waiver, is a better and safer way for people to experience medical procedures without the need for sedatives. When patients use VR to mitigate anxiety, providers can use immersive content instead of narcotics to provide comfort and safety. So the basic idea is that you you order this headset. It comes with the headset, but it also comes with software. Looks like it comes with a carrying case, a tablet, so that the medical professional can control which piece of media is being shown at what time. A quick question. So Wide Awake VR is a startup. Tiny startup. They're based downtown in Ann Arbor. Did I put down how much money? They haven't raised that much, but they've raised some. Do they have the manufacturing facilities and the design teams to design their own unique headset? It's the Wide Awake VR headset. No. What is that right there? What are they doing? What is this called? They are using someone else's headset, but they're slapping their name on it, okay? What is it called when you do that? A lot of companies do that. People do that with their laptops, actually. It's called a white label, okay? It's a white label headset that they have right there. That's a headset that is developed to be relabeled, okay? A company that doesn't have a headset manufacturing team or design team purchases a standard white label headset. It's usually pretty good and cost effective, and then they can slap their own logo or their own etchings or whatever on it, and they can send that out, okay? Clevo is I think it's Clio, or Clevo, is a company in the laptop space that does the same thing. So if you ever see a strange laptop brand that you've never heard of before, chances are it's a Clevo laptop that has been edited and white labeled with another company's logo, right? And that other company provides software and support services and whatever. But the headset is actually from Clevo when you explore and look under the hood. So you might be thinking like, okay, this can't really be real, right? You don't feel the pain as much when you're in the headset. People don't panic. One of the best things any company, any team can do is they can get their tech into an actual user's hands. And so I've got a video right here that I want to show you to get the idea across. Then I'm going to show you a video of it actually being used in the field. It's kind of a creepy video, actually, but I think they wanted that to be the case.
Pupils are widely dilated and do not react to light. If the anesthetic is continued, she will soon stop breathing altogether.
Ether was first developed in the 1820s, 1830s, and then the Hewitt inhaler came along. It was literally a gauze pad over a respirating mask, and they could drip the ether onto the mask. And lo and behold, they had some way of metering this dose became reliable. Happened at the same time as the other part of the Industrial Revolution for medicine, which was sterile services. I cannot get a patient into my hospital without having them offered a general anesthetic or sedation for a simpler surgery as a carpal tunnel release.
What the public doesn't understand are the risks inherent with having surgery and anesthesia. We're dealing with a chance in hundreds. In one large study looking at the risk of death, they found that for elective plastic and orthopedic surgery,
1 in 333 patients were dying.
24 hours to go. I wanna be sedated.
We're living in a world where we're almost sleepwalking our way to our iatrogenic death through the administration of unnecessary anesthesia. Studies have also shown that, particularly in the older population, cognitive decline is a very real risk.
Put me on a plane.
I'm under general anesthesia. I won't feel a thing. I will be fine. I will wake up just fine. But the truth is, I've seen myself, people having difficulty waking up.
Yeah, so the basic idea here is that they're going to use VR as a replacement for anesthesia, right? So anesthesia is expensive, but it's also risky, right? It has to be administered very carefully, and there's always a chance that you will simply not wake up. And so this is aimed at being less risky, less expensive, and all of that. And the team, through this website, is trying to convince you that this is indeed the case, okay, and that you should buy their website. Okay. You see this patient right here, right? That's Joe. So I know that is not, in fact, a patient. He probably went into a film studio or something to do this because it's kind of a dramatic shot, right? And I laugh whenever I see it. Most people will not laugh when they see that. Let's take a look really quickly at hospital use. So this is the product.
So we're doing this procedure for tunnel and trigger release with the patient without any sedation at all. The patient's being relaxed by nice soothing scenes by a virtual reality. So I have colleagues who have been doing this also for joint replacements. Ok, cierra la mano, ábrelo. Ok, ya mira como el dedo del medio ya no se traba. Ciérralo. Ok, hasta lo bajas mejor que los otros. ¿Ya lo ves? Ok, bueno, te vamos a dejar. Ok, bueno, ya está todo, ok. ¿Cómo fue que sin sedante la operación solamente la realidad virtual, ¿cómo se sintió?
Yo me sentí muy bien, me gusta ese procedimiento que no me duele, y a mí mucho me gusta dormirme y es muy agradable.
O sea, que te habíamos operado la mano izquierda hace ¿por cuánto tiempo?
Hace un año.
Hace un año y yo como
Yeah, so you get the gist of it. It's really, really cool to see the product actually being used in the field. You have to be careful. Startups will, in general, always show you the best version of themselves, the rosiest picture. But I will tell you, most startups don't even get this far. They don't even have any footage or any use in the field. So to see someone, even if it's only one or maybe two people going through it and saying, yeah, this is actually all right, is very impressive. Okay, I think this was, an actual clinic in Texas somewhere. Anyway, the idea here is pretty interesting. If you were to evaluate this particular startup in terms of novelty, it's the kind of thing where you're like, no way is this going to work, right? Like you're in a headset and that's going to help you ignore someone poking a needle into their, your hand. You got to be kidding me. But that person was not flinching, okay? And, possibly there's something here. So fairly novel stuff. If a startup idea makes you immediately go, no way, right? No way this is possible. It's a pretty good sign for novelty. Social impact, right? Medical costs, very, very expensive, okay? Everyone knows that. It's a stereotype, especially here. Bankruptcies via medical hardship. And anything that can reduce the cost of care is a pretty big deal these days. Social impact seems pretty good to me. Financial sustainability, that's something that I didn't hear a whole lot about. How does this company make money? Well, as far as I know, you have to pay to get the headset. And then you pay for continued access to the VR content platform, which basically gets you this kind of ever-upgrading list of content, library of content. Now, I don't know that you would need to keep getting more content over time. Like, what's the value in that? A patient probably will only use this platform once or twice a year. But I believe you have to keep paying if you want to keep being able to use this platform, this service. So that's how they make a one-up front fee, and then over time they also get a trickle of money from their clients. There's Joe, my friend. I see Joe about once a year or so, and he's super cool. He always has an interesting new startup idea whenever I see him, and he's just one of those serial entrepreneurs. He loves to find new problems and try and solve them in weird new ways. XR emphasis. Can you distract a patient undergoing a basic procedure with something else? A film. Yeah. How many of you have been to the dentist lately? Okay, and you're lying back in your chair, and some dental clinics have actually a TV up there, right? A monitor that's showing a TV show you don't actually care about, probably, just to distract you, okay, from the unpleasantness of it all. So you might ask yourself, well, hold on, VR is distracting during this procedure, but maybe other things, maybe cheaper things. Maybe we don't need a headset. We need just a cheap monitor and a TV, access to a TV show, right? So maybe you say, well, this startup's pretty cool, but the XR emphasis maybe is not optimal. Still, I think you'll find this to be one of the more impressive startups I'm going to show you this semester. I'm going to show you some stinkers this semester, okay? And I'm looking forward to getting to those. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Some quick announcements for you. What I'm going to show you, have you ever heard of or seen the famous Doom video game, the classic kind of early FPS game? I'm going to show you Doom, but it's not running with any sort of code or Doom engine or anything like that. This is imagery being this is inputs, controller inputs being fed to a model, generative AI model, and us getting output images to our screen. This is to say that this diffusion model remembers Doom after being trained on it. And in fact, you can kind of sort of play through the game and some of the logic of the game, how you move around, shooting things, taking out enemies, kind of works. It is it's almost as if the model played Doom for 90 hours straight. And have you ever played a game and then later in your head, you're kind of playing through it again, you're kind of thinking about it again? Kind of feels that way. So anyway, this is spooky to me. But lest you think that generative AI, is going to come in and design all of our games for us, remember that this model required Doom to exist in the first place to train on it and recreate it. So super, super cool tech. I wouldn't go crazy yet, though. ARI, Alternate Reality Initiative, our fantastic XR club on campus, has their project team taking applications. If you are interested in working with the Kelsey Museum, I think that is the Natural History Museum, this is a student-run team, kind of like Solar Car, kind of like Wolverine Soft Studio, that will be working on stuff for the museum. So you want to have a really cool portfolio piece, you want to work on a bigger team than just your EECS 440 teams, might be a good opportunity, okay? So keep it in mind, take a look if you want. And of course, you're going to have VR and AR and Unity skills, and so you'll be very attractive to the team, okay, if you apply. All right. A quick fun thing. This was just the other day, but one of my friends, Brent Lattery, he's in Vancouver, Canada. He worked on. Has anyone seen the Sonic 3 film recently? Anyone? No? I'm the only nerd in here. During the credits, they have a really cool low poly kind of animation of Sonic and a bunch of characters running through, and so he did those characters, and he was showing me the animations he created in Blender to make that credit screen come to life. So if you watch the film, you'll see these characters. He told me that basically Sonic was taken from Sonic R, which was the first kind of 3D polygonal version of Sonic ever. However, Shadow does not exist, and the Robotniks do not exist, and so he had to go in and create those and animate them. And yeah, super, super cool stuff. Great news for him. Contributing to a big, well-known, successful Hollywood film is not a small thing. So that is something that 3D artists in particular seem to run into a lot. The work is very inconsistent in the world of 3D art and animation, but the work that you do accomplish can be just exceptionally cool, have incredible reach. And, I'm geeking out about this because I'm working on the new 3D interactive art course because I want to make sure everyone on campus can do Blender, create models, create characters, environments, and animate all of it. So I will show you more about that course later as I work on it. Some pretty cool stuff coming up. That might be next semester. Okay, so AR exploration was extended to Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Now note, basically the only thing you hopefully have to do yet is just the HoloLens stuff. You get the HoloLens selfie, you submit that thing, you're done, okay? Be careful because we do have a couple assignments releasing today. Okay, due in a week, there's going to be a little bit of overlap with that and exploration AR if you haven't finished it yet. Okay, so be careful. Be careful. Remember, these assignments aren't too bad, but one way to make them real bad is by waiting too long. Okay, starting in the last few days of the period, not a good idea. Okay, all right. So blah 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 blah. Okay, how did tutorial 1 and tutorial 2 go for you? And in particular, how annoying was it to get the AR app running on your phone? Because that is usually high friction. Anyone feel some friction this week? Yeah. It's like, you have to, if you've got Android, you have to go into the settings, you have to go into developer mode, you have to get everything installed, you have to make sure you've got the Android SDK linked up with Unity. And then for iOS, nasty. Okay, you have to use Xcode, which is just right there. That's a bad start. If you are in the groundworks, there's some issues you might run into. You have to have a cable. I think we had one student who didn't have a cable and had to find it. Are you in here? The student who looked for a cable? Did you find the cable?
No, I just went back to my apartment.
Oh, all right. That works. But here's the thing, okay? And I'll talk about this more in just a bit. But extended reality is an extremely young field, and that has really good elements of it. okay? Because it's so young, there aren't that many XR developers you have to compete with, okay? But there are downsides too, because there just aren't that many XR developers. So the workflows for building something, for getting it to your phone, to your device, might not be as smooth as you're used to, okay? There's going to be some friction there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because that's where you have impact. I'll tell you, if you want to make a traditional indie video game today, it's super easy. Unity, okay? Deploying it to itch.io, to Steam, super easy. But guess what? Everyone is releasing new games every single day. The market is saturated. You are not solving anyone's problems by making yet another game. With XR, though, that's not the case. There's friction everywhere. Not many people can make an XR app. Okay, a lot of people would have probably given up on tutorial on the exploration AR after the first bit of struggle with getting it onto their phone. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. Okay, that friction isn't very fun, but it really helps your work matter. So keep that in mind, especially when the going gets tough. This week, we have 2 new assignments. Actually, we have 3, but don't panic, okay? You've got a tutorial VR assignment. You've got 7 days for that. And this is a miniature magic show. I think you're going to like this one. It is kind of fun. It's a good bit of work. But in Unreal Engine, you'll be learning a lot more about how to script new features, okay? This assignment is going to be another pretty well-guided assignment. You will be asked to do a few things on your own, though, and extrapolate out. But you will be making your own miniature magic show. So you'll be programming up in Blueprints your own spell. And the way this goes, you look at the assignment spec here, and you've got this little tutorial document. This tutorial document is going to kind of walk you through exactly what you should click on, what you should do. There are lots of videos in here. There are lots of little tips, right? Example video, right? Create a light actor. Bring some light into your scene. Well, you go up here, you click on this to create a new actor, and then you can choose what kind you want. You can move it around, right? There's a lot of stuff like that. This is going to walk you through creating a magic show. You're going to learn about a really important concept called line trace. In Unity, this is called a raycast. But the basic guy, we're going to make all little audience members that hop up and down to clap for you. It's pretty fun. You're going to learn about the line trace, known as in Unity as the raycast. This is basically a technique where you shoot a ray out through the world, and you see if you hit anything. If you do hit something, well, I want to know what I hit. In this case, it is aiming that magic spell, right? So you're going to aim your spell at that audience member, and you detect which one you hit, if you hit any, and you change them into something else. You despawn them, you spawn a new actor in their place, you just turn them into a pumpkin, okay? Or anything you want. Anyway, once you get through this tutorial, and it does take some time, it's not super hard, but it does take some time. Once you get through this tutorial, you need to expand the magic show with some of your own unique features. For instance, you need to go in and figure out, with these hints, how to change your wand model to some custom object. So sometimes we get a student who goes to Sketchfab and they pull down like a spatula, okay, and you're turning people into burgers with your spatula wand, okay? Stuff like that. You've got other ones as well. Introduce some spell audio, okay? Get some different audience members in there, right? Add some randomness so that most of the time the audience members, they convert into a burger, but sometimes they turn into a hot dog, okay? Anyway, that's what you're going to be doing in tutorial VR. And it takes a bit of time. Not super hard, but definitely start on that as soon as you can. Tutorial AR is a bit of a simpler version. This one is going to take you a bit deeper into the AR side of things. Mobile AR, you're going to be learning and getting more familiar with Unity. As you get more familiar with these 2 game engines, try in your head to kind of piece them and link them together. We're going to do exactly that over the next few lectures. We're going to introduce you to game engines in general, not just Unreal or Unity. But you'll have another tutorial document. This will take you through doing some stuff and building out your little auto show here in AR. You will learn about the raycast, right? Line trace in Unreal. And then you'll expand it with some more custom features, okay? This might be a lot, right? But over time, as you work more and more of these engines, as you mentally add more and more of these techniques and tools into your toolbox, everything will really start to click. By the time you're on P3, every semester, by the time we hit P3, the students can run and move super fast. They don't need me anymore. So sad. And you can do amazing stuff, all right? Anyway, you're going to be learning and diving deeper into Unreal and Unity this week, okay? Hopefully that's not too intimidating. It's very guided. You'll be okay, all right? But this is one of those weeks where you do need a good bit of time. So I would start as soon as you can. Okay, all right. The last thing, did you know that this course has film sessions? Okay. The students usually really like these assignments. They are very easy ways to score big chunks of points. A big part of XR, a big part of any new technology is not just how to use it or how it works, okay? When we think about a technology, we also want to think into the future. What could that technology mean in the future? What is the discourse around that technology? What do people think could become of the tech, okay? How many of you think that generative AI is going to cause massive employment problems in the not too distant future? Right? Okay, and why do you think that? Well, you've experimented with it a bit, but you've also seen a lot of media probably that talks about generative AI, okay? Have any of you seen, what's a good dystopian technology film? Can anyone give me one? What's a good film that warns about technology? Okay, robot takeover film, yeah. The Matrix, okay? So this film that talks about the idea of we could one day create a virtual reality so good that we become trapped in it and we can't escape. We could create AI that decides to enslave all of us and keep us docile using virtual reality. So the idea is this: we need to understand the culture behind these technologies as well. What do people fear about these technologies that we're pushing forward? How do we make sure that we're going to make these technologies be beneficial for humanity in the future? Okay? That stuff really matters. The artists who are doing all this thinking, they won't decide what the technology becomes. That's for the engineers to decide. Okay? That's for you to decide. Anyway, that suggestion was really timely because our first film will be The Matrix. Have you seen this film? Okay. If you haven't seen this film, I think you're in for a treat. It is, I think it still holds up exceptionally well to this day. I think it was a 1999 film, which was right before Y2K. So very, very timely as far as films about technology goes. So this assignment is a big, easy batch of points. Okay. If you attend the 8 p.m. film session in this room on January 29th, and you watch the film with us, we'll hold a very tiny discussion before and after. You watch the film, you sign in, you get all the points like that. You're done, okay? The assignment is finished. If you cannot join us for the film session for whatever reason, you still have a way to get the points, but it's going to require some writing, okay? You will have to write an essay, and you will need to answer these questions in, it says, no less than 3 pages. So a lot of questions to kind of verify that you've watched the film, and some more ambiguous questions to get your thoughts on the film overall and what the creators were trying to say. Okay? So those are our film sessions. We'll have 5 films throughout the semester: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will write down when our film sessions are going to happen. And if you can make it to those, fantastic. The films are much, much more interesting if you can. But if you can't, you can just do the essay. You'll be fine. Okay? All right. Any questions on any of that stuff? All right. Well, if you have any, you let me know. Okay. So let's keep going. Yeah, no joke. This is not the world's hardest course, but this could be one of the harder weeks in the entire semester. simply because those tutorial VRs and tutorial AR assignments, if you don't get started right away, there's a lot going on, okay? If you run into an issue like deploying to your phone, you could get bogged down, and that might be tough, all right? So what I want to do is I want to talk about course logistics. This is the material that's really good for like the first week, but not so good for the first day. Anyone have a good feel for why I never like to do syllabus stuff first day? What's the point? Why? Any idea? It's a bit more of a game design thing. Think back to the last film you've seen, okay? The last film you watched. Does it begin with the main character sitting down and discussing the state of the world for 20 minutes? A bunch of exposition dump? Do you start with an exposition dump? No. It's boring, right? There are no stakes. You're not hooked yet. How does every film begin? Typically with
Medias res, which is in the middle of things, so it's just like action going from the start.
Bingo, drama, tension, action, exciting things happening, mysterious things happening. You don't have to answer every question. You do that the rest of the film. You get the audience hooked in the first 5 minutes, then you've got them. And now you could deliver whatever information you need to, and the audience can tolerate some boredom. The hook was the last lecture. This is the boring lecture, okay? But I'll try and make it a bit nicer. How many of you have watched SpongeBob? Anyone? Okay, SpongeBob, every semester fewer hands go up. Makes me sad, makes me feel old. I really like this clip.
What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? Come on, Ricky, what's his name? We threw out his name!
So a good example of bad logistics, bad organization. This is not what we want in our course, and so we have a day like this. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these lectures, okay? They happen from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays. You already know that. Good job. These lectures come in a few different flavors. So we can have standard lectures. That's a little bit more like today. When we're going to talk about history, we might talk about some theory, discussions, and I might provide some industry stories as well. But very soon, we're going to start having lectures that are much more technical. Okay? They are very implementation heavy. They have a lot of demonstrations. In fact, when Project 1 begins, we are going to go and build a nice affordance interaction architecture together. Okay, what on earth does that mean? Well, it's an architecture in your software that makes it extremely easy to add tiny little interactions, okay, like flicking a light switch, like using a copier to clone something. Even things as advanced as drawing on a whiteboard, you're going to learn how to do relatively easily in that first project, okay? And so I hope you look forward to it. But we'll have a number of these throughout the semester where we will simply be programming things together, and I'll be talking about why we make certain decisions and what value we get out of those decisions, okay? We're going to have some lectures that are playtest lectures, especially on Project 3. Every single week, you'll be putting your software, your VR app, your AR app in front of other people to get feedback. How's it going? What kind of features are needed? Is it confusing to use? Is the UI clear? That kind of stuff really matters, all right? And you have to play test in order to find out what's wrong. We might do some guest lectures. This is kind of depends on the semester and who's available. We'll see. A quick note, this course is still a very young course. It has only recently gotten its full 440 number. And so it's still a bit in beta. Some of the lectures we have might be a bit shorter. We might not fill all the time. I'm adding more content every semester. We really care about your feedback on this course, okay? Iterative design process, you want to make your apps better. I want to make the course better. And so please let me know what you think. And a reminder, after each assignment, when you see that big give feedback button, you get extra credit for doing that. You'll get that extra credit at the end of the course, okay? All right. Quick reminder of the schedule. That high-level schedule, we only have so much time. About 15 weeks, that's not much. We're going to focus on exploration for the first 2 weeks. This is where we are, okay? Doing those little guided tutorials. We're then going to spend 3 weeks on a VR project, Unreal Engine. We then spend 3 weeks on a Unity project, AR, and then you'll get all the rest of the time to work on that final project, okay? And yeah, hopefully that leaves you in a good spot to compete for internships with other students at places like Epic Games, Niantic, and GM. We sent a bunch of, I've got I think Niantic is like my #1 studio for sending students to. Pokemon Go. I think I've got 7 or 8 students there, but I'd have to look. Anyway, yeah, it definitely works out. And these projects are really good portfolios stuff. Your exploration assignments, right? Your tutorial assignments. You're going to be doing that this week. You got your magic show. You got your auto show. Okay. Then we're going to move on to that recreation of the laboratory. Okay. You're going to be doing day and night cycles. You're going to be doing NPCs that talk back to you via text. It's going to be a good time. Our second project, a reminder, is going to be a Pokemon Go variant called A2 Go. It's going to be about planting trees, different kinds of trees, crazy trees, whatever you want, and getting people out and about exploring historical artifacts in their local community. Okay? That final project, P3, can be whatever you want it to be. And so, especially if you know teammates that you already want to work with, definitely talk with them, right? Get a feel for what they might be interested in. Do you want to do VR or AR? Well, you don't have to have your mind made up for a long time, but start thinking about possibilities now. That'll help you out. There's a lot going on in this course. You've got a lot going on in your life. You got other courses, okay? So use the schedule. Use it every day or so, and that will help you understand what you should be working on and when something is coming due, okay? Right? Again, move your eyes along the left column. When you find a certain day, move your eyes right. If you see red, it's due. If you see yellow, work on it. If you see green, it's launching that day, okay? So there you go. Lecture plans and slides are available. Assignment links are on here as well. Deadlines are also here. Greens, yellow, red. We talked about that. There are some missing elements on the schedule. One big one is the rubric. You can only get to the rubric through Canvas, okay? You go to Canvas. You go to the Assignments tab. Click. Go to the Assignments tab. You should be able to see these assignments in here. Let's go and see where's Tutorial VR. There we go. You can see that it's 50 points. And what's more, you can see exactly how we're going to grade you, okay? And so keep an eye on these rubrics, and you'll have a good sense for how you're going to earn points on these assignments. Okay. Quick policies in grading, okay? When I say, hey, this extra credit is worth 5 points, is that a lot or is that a little? How excited are you if there are 50,000 points in the course? What about if there's 500 points in the course? All right. Well, there are 1,000 points in this course. Now, I actually think something changed that's slightly different than this, but there's about that many. And so it's very easy to understand how valuable a point is. The assignment values here, that first week you just completed was 10% of your grade, okay? Hopefully that went pretty well. Usually it does. And you got 10% locked in just like that. Your tutorials this week are another 10% of your grade, 50 a pop for tutorial VR and tutorial AR. Your culture, your film sessions, another 10% of the grade. Okay, so you do a good job in these first few weeks and then watch all the films, and you're going to pass this course, okay? You're getting really close. Project 1 is 150 points, okay? That will take us about 3 weeks. P2 is the same. That'll take another 3 weeks. And then your final project is where most of the stakes are, okay? 375 points or so, and you'll be graded every single week on that project, okay? So you get a chunk every single week, and the final chunk is the largest. There is a small block of participation points that you get for free, and you don't lose these points unless you freeload on your team, okay? What does that mean? Well, there's such a thing as an imbalanced team contribution penalty. Anyone read that? Anyone see that in the syllabus? And you're like, oh, this is spooky. Don't want to get hit by that. And you're right, you don't. So the imbalanced team contribution penalty is right here. This is the penalty that basically states, hey, your teammates have not found you to be congenial and a good contributor to your project. And the JIRA, the project management software on your projects, says that you basically put no hours in. If these things are the case, that there's a lot of evidence to say you didn't really contribute and do the project, at which point you're going to lose a ton of points, okay? This is all to say, as long as you're putting in a good effort, you don't need to be perfect, you don't need to do an amazing job. As long as you're being good to your teammates and putting in a decent effort, an okay-ish effort, you don't have to worry about this, okay? But please do not ignore your teams in this course. If you have to take a week off, you've gotten sick, or you've got an interview or something, hey, you lean on your teammates and then you return the favor later, okay? And all is good. But take care of your team in this course, otherwise you may be in for a very nasty surprise toward the end, okay? Especially for those of you who want to graduate. So, okay, do your best for your team. Nothing to be afraid of, but we're definitely watching, okay? All right. So, let's keep going. Extra credit. There are a few opportunities for extra credit in this course. This does not affect any curving that might happen, so don't worry about other people doing it and you not doing it. But take advantage of these opportunities. Filling out the feedback form at the end of each assignment, for instance. Super quick way to get some points, and they really do add up toward the end, okay? The target grade for this course is an A-. I've never hit that, okay? And now the question for you is, am I always high or am I always low? What do you think? In the back. I'm always high. Oh. I've gone soft in my old age. The students in this course do a fantastic job. This is not the kind of course where you're going to work really hard and then a final exam comes out of nowhere and just pows you, right? You get unlucky, you don't feel good during the exam, you get wrecked. If you put in the effort in this course, if you put in the time, if you're good to your teammates, you're going to get an A, okay? Not an A-, an A. And in fact, I think the average last semester, we had a sick group last semester. They were fantastic. Was an A+. Okay, so do not think for a moment that this is a super easy course. It's not. But you are rewarded handsomely for the effort that you put in. Okay, I promise you that. Collaboration policy. You are generally allowed to collaborate so long as you're not copying and pasting code between each other. We encourage you to talk with each other. Talk in Unreal, okay? Hey, I found this really powerful node that lets me do this cool thing and move the actor over there, right? That's perfect for this task. Tell your friends, okay? Don't show them your code, but tell your friends, talk about it, debate, okay? Learn about these engines, about these technologies. The fastest way to do that is through debate, okay? And talking and getting the word on the street. So, anyway, minor external assets are generally allowed. You're generally allowed to bring in things from the internet, for instance. You want to bring in a character from Sketchfab, you could do it. You want to bring in some audio from freesound.org, you could do that. Some assignments do have explicit restrictions, but you'll find that on the assignment spec toward the top, not a big deal. Don't copy peer code, okay? But you may discuss ways to solve a task, okay? Efficient ways to do certain things in Unreal or Unity. Okay, you can always discuss general course concepts. You can discuss the assignments at a high level. You can share code that exercises and demonstrates some of those general ideas. Just don't copy and paste, okay? You're going to be fine if you don't copy and paste. If you use something external, okay, if you bring something into your projects or assignments that you didn't make yourself, we do want to know about it. How do you do that? Well, create a little text file called credits.txt. And if you put it in the top level of your project, we'll see it if we're curious, and we'll read through it, and then you're all good, okay? Just don't pretend you made something that you did not. Okay, and definitely don't download an entire darn project, okay? We do know what they look like. We know they're out there. And don't just grab a whole project off the shelf, all right? That will bite you then. It will also bite you later, okay? If you didn't create it, we want to know about it. Credits.txt, you already got that. No big deal. I know what you've been wondering. May you use Shrek in your application? I asked this to my 494 students. The answer was no. You cannot use Shrek unless you get permission. You cannot use Shrek in your games. In this course, however, the answer is yes, because this is a much more chill version of 494, kind of, vastly more chill. And, hold on. Yes, okay. So you can, in fact, use Shrek in your project. This is to say that you're allowed to bring in characters and objects that you have not licensed, at least for your first 2 projects. Your final project actually goes out to the public, and people are going to be here at the showcase using it. On that one, we have to be more careful. Okay, we have to make sure we have a license for that stuff. Yeah, so here, this example is pretty fun, right? Unreal Engine Shrek dancing. I used Sketchfab to find the Shrek model, right? And I used Mixamo to automatically rig Shrek up, and then get him in armature, and then get him animations, the dancing animation, right? In the 3D art course I'm talking about, we would actually make Shrek from scratch. The geometry, the materials, we do a low poly version of Shrek, so it's a bit faster. Make the rig ourselves, and then animate it ourselves. But you can get results really quickly that are pretty good through Mixamo. Yeah, we want to avoid this kind of thing in our final projects. Remember that time the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States, accidentally stole Nintendo's music for a online Flash game? Yeah, they did that. They got into some trouble for it. The person who made the game for the government went and just grabbed some of their favorite music from Yoshi's Island DS and thought no one would notice. Of course, the people who are playing EPA games online are huge nerds, so they're going to notice immediately. Anyway, we want to avoid that on our final project. Do you know what a license is? This is the kind of thing that doesn't matter a whole lot when you're a student, right? Because students can do no wrong, okay? If you mess up, you're just a dumb student, no worry, okay? It's adorable. As soon as you graduate, that goes away, and especially if you join a startup or a big corporation, you need to be very careful. You join a research lab, you have to be careful about this too, okay? Licenses. This is the permission you get to use something or not. If you go to an online repository, this is the one for the Godot game engine. It's an open source library or engine. It's great. If you go into their repo, you'll see a license.txt. What is that? Why is that there? Well, when you click on it, you'll get to read what your license is. This is the permission you are given to use the engine, okay? You can read through this if you want. It's really short. Licenses are usually longer. What they're saying here is you can use this for anything, including selling it, so long as you don't sue us. You're not allowed to sue us ever, okay? That's all it really says. And that's rocking, okay? Cool, that's great. Very open source. Some projects will literally tell you what the license is right away. So OpenCV, which you might use if you take the 442 computer vision course, has a BSD license, okay? BSD is very permissive. A quick tangent. Do the game consoles use Linux? Does PlayStation 5 use Linux? Does Xbox One use Linux? Well, Microsoft's definitely not going to. Does the Switch use Linux? The answer for most of history has been no. Why? Because Linux is under the GPL license. And when people hear the GPL, they get spooked, okay? Well, if you know, you know. The GPL requires you, the GPL is fairly permissive. You can do anything you want with this, except if you make any modifications to the software, you have to publish all of your changes publicly. So if PlayStation says we're going to use Linux, that's really great. It's a cool choice for the PlayStation 6. Oh, we have to customize this to make it really work super well on our console, right? It's different hardware, different software, different interface. Oh, legally, we are now required to give all of our work to Xbox. Companies don't like that. So BSD is different. OpenBSD, FreeBSD. BSD stands for Berkeley Software Distribution. It's kind of a rival of Linux, I think. Kind of a sibling/rival of Linux. It has a much more permissive license where you don't have to do that. And so in many corporations and big teams, you'll find BSD being used instead of Linux. That's the BSD license. And my tangent is done now. Sorry. Okay, if you're curious about this, you should take Game Engine Architecture course where the licenses are actually something you have to memorize for the exam. That sounds bad. It's actually super interesting. You would love it. Okay, royalty-free assets. There are a lot of websites you can go to online where you can get really great stuff. 3D models. In this case, some music, some audio, okay? What is the license here? Well, you don't have to wonder. It's right here. It's always right here. On opengameart.org, this is a website dedicated to getting you great stuff quickly, okay? This is licensed under public domain. That means you don't have to do anything. You can just grab it and do what you will. You don't even have to credit the creator. You do in this course, because I want it, in credits.txt, right? But you're rocking and rolling, right? You got freesound.org, you got sketchfab.com, Unity Asset Store, ambientcg.com, Pixabay, just fantastic, okay? So participation, all right? Must you attend every lecture? And the answer is no, but I'm super happy that you're here. I think I've talked about this before. Did I tell you what the slippery slope is? Okay, so this comes from my undergrad and things I've seen in 10 years of teaching. What happens is the first day of class, you say, I'm going to go there. I'm going to sit in the front. It's going to be great. I'm going to answer all the questions. Wonderful. The second lecture, you go there, but you sit in the back. The third lecture, you don't go at all. You watch it in real time at home. The fourth lecture, you watch delayed one day at home. By the fifth lecture, you're not watching anything at home, okay? You've fallen off the course, and you begin to wonder yourself, why are the assignments getting exponentially more difficult as time goes on? I thought this course was supposed to be moderate difficulty. Well, everyone, it's very easy to take the convenience of kind of staying home, not going to lecture. That's fine, okay? But please, please be careful about that slippery slope. You go too far down it, and the course becomes hellish. Your learning outcomes become trash, and that's not what we want for you, okay? You don't want that. You're paying too much for that, okay? In terms of money, but also in terms of time and energy, all right? So anyway, I would encourage you to attend lectures when you can. If you cannot, then I understand completely, no big deal. You don't need to be here on time either. Lectures are recorded. You can check Canvas to find them. Things are typically due at the start of class, okay? And that means at literally the start of class, so 1:30 p.m. EST, that is late at that point. You need to turn things in by 1:29 if you want to be on time or early, okay? There are late penalties in this course, 20% for the first 24 hours, under the first 24 hours, and then 100% penalty, okay? In this course, you can recover from a lot of mistakes. One penalty that's kind of hard to recover from is a 0, okay? So make sure you turn in something, even if it is broken, okay? And you can turn things in as many times as you want. So you can submit a safety submit where you're not done yet, but you're just going to submit anyway. That way, if disaster strikes and for some reason you just don't submit on time and don't submit at all, you forget about it, whatever, you still get a lot of the points, okay? Here's the late policy, in case you're curious, written in Python logic. The official timekeeper is Canvas, and so, don't tell me your watch said it was on time. If there is a disaster and you cannot submit, you will only be excused or extended if it's occurring for many people. If your laptop, if its Wi-Fi card dies in the 5 minutes before the deadline and you're trying to upload but you can't, that's you, okay? You want to submit early so you can deal with those issues. Even 30 extra minutes would allow you to just go to one of these machines and upload, okay? Anyway, so do the best you can. Resources to keep in mind in this course. Office hours, we got a good few of them, I think. The other courses have more, but we got some decent office hours in this course. What are they again? You've got office hours from 7 to 8 p.m. tonight, okay, on Mondays and Wednesdays with me. Something to note, I also give office hours from 6 to 7 on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you come early, you're good. You can just use those office hours so long as my game engine architecture students aren't asking questions, which they often are not. On Thursday and on Friday, you've got Andy who will give you office hours as well. And when it's on the weekends, right, Discord, DMs, you can try Piazza. There are other things you can try as well. All right. So any questions thus far? Any questions? No? Here is maybe one of the most important things in the entire class. You don't have a ton of time in this course, okay? The number of things you're going to do, there are a lot of them. And while the time isn't quite as tight as 494 is, it's still pretty tight. Have any of you ever done this? You've run into a tiny little bug, it's annoying you. It's not super important, but you just can't fix it. And you're smashing your head against that bug for about 4 hours straight, 3 or 4 hours. The bug feels like the entire day. The entire day goes by. The bug is the only thing you may be fixed if you're lucky, okay? If you do that in this course, you will get wrecked, okay? Again, not as bad as in 494, but you really cannot afford to let yourself get blocked like that for 4 hours straight, okay? Here is the technique that will allow you to get lots of sleep, a great social life, and all 3 meals a day. Here's what you do, okay? You're working and then you come across a bug or some issue you don't quite understand, you can't fix it. Well, you're going to take 15 minutes to try and fix it yourself. You're going to do some Googling, you're poking it and you're prodding it, you're trying to experiment and figure out what's going on here. But when that 15-minute timer is up, you must go to Piazza, you make a post. You make a detailed post as much as you can, okay? And then you make the post. You then work on something else, anything else. You work on your other courses. You work on your other assignments in this course, okay? You go eat. You go to work out, okay? Take care of yourself. Sleep. What that does is it puts your issue onto a background thread. Have any of you taken EECS 482? Okay, right? Fantastic multi-threading course. It puts your problem onto a background thread, and maybe one of your instructors will see it and will solve it for you. Or a peer will see it and go, oh, hey, I just saw that. Here's what you got to do. Boom. Okay? Boom. The problem was solved in 10 minutes, and it wasn't even your 10 minutes. It was someone else's. Okay? Meanwhile, you are doing meaningful work, and you come back, boom, it's knocked out, and you can proceed. Far more efficient than just smashing your head against that 4-hour block, okay? And you're not going to learn more by burning your morale and your energy on one crappy little issue that if you came to office hours, I could fix for you in about 5 minutes. I will tell you so many of my office hours, students come to me and they say, Austin, I've been working on this nasty bug. I've lost like 5 or 6 hours so far, right? It's just awful. How do I solve this? And I point out a little checkbox that they forgot in the UI. And I click it and their problem is solved. As funny as that is, that's actually a disaster for the production, okay? That is 4 to 5 hours you will not get returned to you, okay? The deadline is coming and now you're that much behind, all right? That's the kind of thing that destroys actual teams in the industry in production, okay? My goodness. Like, I've seen, ask me about some of the disasters I've seen in the games industry. One of the coolest things is I send a lot of students to video game companies, fairly big ones in many cases, and some XR companies. And the horror stories I hear sometimes, my students always love the work and they love their teams, but sometimes bad stuff happens, and often it's because of this. Someone had too much pride to ask for help. You are paying for help, okay? So please solicit that help. Move fast if you can. Give yourself 15 minutes, but not too much more than that. I'll also add, ask GPT, okay? Ask your AI assistants. If you can copy and paste an error you're seeing in, very often they provide exceptional advice, as long as you are specific and give them enough context, okay? When you are dealing with AI chatbots and assistants, treat it like office hours. The more and better information you provide, the better your chances of getting a really surprisingly good outcome, okay? Anyway, yeah, don't over-rely on the AI assistants, though, okay? Be careful about that. Some people get sucked in, and pretty soon the AI assistant is writing all their code, and that's not going to let you, you're not going to finish these projects you do that, okay? The AI assistants really fall apart at the intersection, at the periphery of your scripts when you need different systems to work together, and if the AI has written all your systems, you're not going to understand them. It's going to be a problem, okay? Anyway, work on a different issue, and if Piazza can't help you, bring it to office hours where we almost certainly can, Okay, very likely. Sometimes when we can't solve an issue, we'll either give you a mini extension or we will be able to point you to a solution very quickly. Anyway, all right. So private correspondence, you need to contact me in private. You can do so via, XR course staff will also alert the entire teaching staff, so Andy and I. But you can email me directly, aarger@umich.edu anytime. You can contact me on Piazza, that's private. And you can also contact me via DM on Discord, okay? The best is probably email, okay? I'm more consistent getting email done. There are many communities around campus that are full of extremely intelligent people who will offer their time to help you understand a topic better, okay? These, you can kind of think of them as a little extra mushy office hours, right? Hanging out with Ari, right? Hanging out with Wolverine Soft or IGD Ann Arbor. These are groups that have weekly meetings. Well, IGD Ann Arbor is actually monthly. But they have weekly meetings, and if you take your projects there, you can get great feedback, you can get advice if you have an issue, stuff like that. In terms of health, okay, this course isn't super stressful, but there are going to be a few nights maybe where you feel a bit stressed out. Okay, CAPS.umich.edu is kind of the centralized mental health service on campus. I think they're pretty busy usually, but I've also heard pretty good things if you can get some time with them. Your instructors, okay, we've seen a lot. I've been teaching for quite a while. This course is fairly new, but I've been teaching in general for a while. I can help give you perspective. If you ever feel like things are falling apart, if you ever feel like you're melting down mentally or physically, let us know, okay? We can help speed you up. We can help you complete things. We can help give you perspective, all right? If you have a bad assignment or two, we can remind you that this just isn't a huge deal. Right? You can recover. There's lots of points on the board. There's extra credit you're not accounting for yet. We can help put you at ease, and it will be our pleasure to do so. However, the number one rule of the course is this. We can't help you with issues we don't know about. So when you need help, you must ask for it. And I know it doesn't feel good to do so, but that is why we are here. That is literally our job. Okay, so please let us know if you're uncomfortable with something or you are hurting for some reason or you are struggling or very stressed. Let us know, okay? Any questions? All right. Yeah, you cannot learn effectively if you're not feeling good, okay? Also note, how many of you work out or lift or go for runs or do any of that stuff? You've done it in the past, okay? Then you know there's a very, very clear difference between fatigue, which is that kind of tiredness, that soreness you feel when you put in a really good day at work, right? There's a very big difference between the fatigue after a good workout and injury pain, okay? If you ever feel that injury, if you feel like you're no longer able to learn, you're struggling mentally, then you let us know. If you're a bit mentally tired, that may be a sign that you did a really good job and you learned a lot very quickly. Okay, make sure you're getting your sleep as well, right? Have any of you played the Elder Scrolls series, Oblivion, Skyrim, all that stuff? In that RPG series, you gain experience as you run around and do things, but you do not earn the benefits of that experience until you have slept. I believe that upgrade, that level up, that experience system was designed around how humans behave biologically, okay? I remember when I was learning piano. Any of you learn an instrument? Any instruments, musicians? Fantastic. I remember I was learning piano and I would try and struggle so hard to get a particular tune, right? And I'm just going through it and I'm just trying again and again. I'm just not getting much better at it. And then I would go to sleep kind of angry, like, oh, this is awful, right? I would go to sleep angry. I would wake up and my first shot completely nail it, like it was nothing, okay? Sleep really is a superpower. It does take knowledge you've gained and it makes it permanent, okay? It messes with your muscles, it messes with your techniques, with your thought patterns, and it can make you much more efficient. Right? If you don't get that sleep, you're not getting the gains of all the work you're putting in. So try and get 8 hours of sleep if you can. And don't forget to eat either. I forgot to do that in undergrad. It was not good. Okay, any questions on any of this? what I want to do is I want to take a 5-minute break. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to tell you some pretty interesting stories, some tales, some of wonder and some of horror from the Viz Studio. Okay? We will see you back here in 5 minutes.
I joined the course like over the weekend. I didn't get enough time to finish the VR part.
Are you
Well, I was working on it on that machine just now.
well, so the good news is that AR exploration is not easy.
Yeah, I finished the AR one. Okay, because it didn't require it and it wasn't here.
Did you do the upwards?
I haven't done the hardware because I
Probably haven't.
right, not exactly.
Okay. Well, if you join the course late, so you should email
Right.
and we'll make sure.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to it. Okay, so I'd like to tell you some stories, okay? I want to ask first, how many of you are planning to make pretty heavy usage of this Viz Studio in here? Right? You know, maybe you don't have a VR headset at home, or you don't have a Windows machine. You need a Windows machine to do VR dev for the most part, right? This Viz Studio is incredibly unique. It is rare even among prestigious universities. Michigan State, about an hour away, has a full game development major. But they don't have this. They don't have anything close to this, okay? Their VR course is kind of scrapped for hardware. You know, it's a pretty cool thing that we have. However, it does not come for free. And I'm not talking about money, okay? I'm talking about something else. So this course is kind of unusual, okay? We're really, really, really lucky. As software engineers, if you think about it, you could make the next big unicorn billion-dollar startup. And what would you need to do this?
Investors.
Maybe investors, right? You have to get an evaluation eventually. But how much expensive hardware do you have to buy to make that new billion-dollar startup? How many gigantic laboratories, how many wind tunnels, how many chemicals do you have to purchase? Okay, not so much. In fact, the story of our field is a bunch of founders, nerdy founders, in their garage making it happen with cheap hardware, okay? It is theoretically possible that the next billion-dollar unicorn startup comes from someone working in a library on their Chromebook that cost them 100 bones. Okay? So in that way, we're really, really lucky, okay? The barrier to entry when it comes to computer science is almost always knowledge, okay, and time, and not so much hardware or equipment or even too much money, okay? What you really need is a modest computing device, and that's kind of it, okay? And you can go experiment with a new algorithm, or you can go build a game, okay? You can download some free programs to get you started. Compare this to mechanical engineering, okay? Compare this to aerospace. Are you going to do a whole lot in aerospace without a wind tunnel, without equipment to fabricate a new design and really test it out? It might be hard, okay? Chemical engineering. Are you going to get access to chemicals as like a high schooler? I don't think so. Probably not. But, you know, high schoolers, when you were in high school, you had access to everything from a computational perspective you needed to make a startup if you wanted. I remember way back when the iPhone came out in 2008, and a year or two later, I was trying to make apps, but I was too young. I was too young to accept Apple's developer program, so I had to get my parents to like accept it for me so that I could get the stuff and start making apps. It was really very annoying. But other disciplines have a much, much higher barrier to entry than we do, okay? And we should consider ourselves very lucky to be in such an accessible field, okay? It's a hard field, but a very accessible one in certain ways. This may partially explain why there are so many computer scientists these days. People get heavily into computer science and programming before they've even hit school or college. Okay, how many of you came to computer science with a bit of programming knowledge already? Okay, and for those of you who didn't, that's awesome. It's fantastic. You learn a lot here. But like, it's amazing that that's possible. You can go get started with programming and then go to college instead of the other way around. Okay, now here's the thing. VR and AR, which this course is all about, is different. Okay, unlike your other courses, which may have only required a Chromebook or a cheap laptop, this course has a strong hardware component. Okay, and that immediately moves our particular subject toward mechanical engineering, aerospace, those other fields that have a much more expensive buy-in. Okay, you need specialized and expensive equipment to get rolling with AR and VR. Okay, that's just how it is. But what's more, VR ain't so useful if you don't have any space for it. Okay, VR just really isn't all that if you have to sit there at your desk and that's the only thing you can do. You want to be able to walk around, enjoy all 6 axes of freedom, right? Well, even in AR, sometimes you need a very specific circumstance. You need a special phone, you need other stuff. If you want to do AR development on an iPhone, you need a Mac, okay? You can't build it otherwise, right? Apple's all about that, getting you locked into their ecosystem. We'll talk about that later. This course has friction that you might not have felt for a while, okay? That's the TLDR here. You are now at the bleeding edge, and there's going to be friction, okay? But there will be upside to that as well. Let's talk a little bit about immature ecosystems. So the Oculus, the first kind of public launch of Oculus, the DevKit 1, released in 2012. Okay, that sounds like a long time, but it's really not too long ago. 10 years is pretty long for technology, but XR is kind of unique in that it has really kept shifting, okay, and changing. For a while, people thought XR was going to be the HoloLens approach. Oops, nope, guess not. Okay, and now we're pivoting toward pass-through with things like the Vision Pro and the Quest 3. Smartphones kind of honed in and kind of found their niche and rolled for quite pretty quickly. This is all to say that the XR ecosystem is still fairly immature. There are a lot of very diverse devices out there. There are quite a few headsets, white label headsets, which we just saw. HTC's got their stuff. You've got Valve doing stuff. You have Meta doing stuff. You've got Apple barging into the ecosystem. There's a lot going on. And of course, you still have some stuff from Microsoft and HoloLens. I think Magic Leap is still there. A question for you. When you are choosing to make an AR app, you have to choose one of these, okay? Now, some of these, like Apple AR Kit, have certain features, but then if you go with Google AR Core instead, you'll get other features and lose some of the Apple features, okay? You have to choose one of these columns to build your AR around, and if you choose wrong, you're toast, okay? Because these will consolidate and will be discontinued. Some of them will dry up and die, and a couple of them will dominate. Do you know which ones are going to win?
Probably Apple.
Probably Apple. I would never choose Google to do anything long term. But maybe. They do own the platform, right? So, but you don't know. You might make that choice and then you might regret it later. This is one of the kind of hallmarks of a young ecosystem. There are so many different options. Many of them are rough and missing features, and it's hard to find the optimal choice, okay? OpenXR has been an attempt to kind of unify a lot of these things. So there's one API you use, and then it just uses whatever the platform has available. The hardware costs have come down a lot. We'll talk about that more later, but it's still pretty high. Like, how much is the Meta Quest 3 these days? Anyone know? That's got to be the one you choose, right? Meta Quest 3 price. Oh, what do we got? $500? It's more expensive than I thought it was. I thought it was like $300. Wow. So headsets are still expensive. They've come down dramatically. They've gotten much better, but it's still very high. And there are fewer developers doing XR. Why? Because of these entry costs, okay? It's not nearly as accessible as just getting up and making a website or creating a JavaScript web app, okay? And so there are going to be more bugs, more points of friction. The tooling might not be as consistent. That's just how it's going to be, all right? That causes the immature ecosystem. So the result of all this is pain at the bleeding edge. All right. If you ever go to grad school and find yourself doing research, you will be so far on the bleeding edge that you will lose the ability to Google your problems. Okay. When you have an issue with your technology or your software, or an algorithm isn't working, in your courses, you can kind of Google a problem. There's a very good chance you'll find other people who have that problem and who have solved it. When you're doing research, or when you are in a very new technical ecosystem like an XR or like a generative AI, there's no one to turn to, okay? There are fewer people to turn to, and as a result, you have to kind of sludge through the unmowed grass a bit, okay? I'll tell you, though, to use another analogy, right? How many of you really like going to the park and walking on those lovely cement paths, okay? It's really nice. If you want a slightly more adventurous time, what do? You can walk on the dirt paths. Okay, you'll have a great time. But I'll tell you, no one is going to find any treasure or interesting things on the beaten path. It's, after you stumble off the path and you're kind of, walking through the water, through the swamp, right? You're stepping through these bushes that are, chest high. Like, that's where you find stuff you were not supposed to find, okay? For better or for worse. So this is what happens at the bleeding edge. And if you want to go find and make new discoveries and have a big impact, you cannot be in the places that are comfortable, okay? And sometimes XR is not a comfy place to be. Higher highs and lower lows, all right? You're going to get frustrated, like in this image, a couple times in this course, I guarantee it, okay? I get frustrated just making the course. So one question to ask yourself is development possible in your current setup, all right? You have a mobile device. So, if you have a mobile device, you've got AR, you can probably build the AR app. If you're doing VR stuff, you probably don't have a headset. You probably need to use the campus resources, okay? This is all kind of encoded in the platform pain matrix for this course. How many of you have seen this? Okay, you looked at it? This is a matrix that basically tells you what difficulty level you're taking the course on, okay? For the VR assignments, if you have a Windows and an Android device, how many of you have Windows and Android? Okay? All right, a few of you. That used to be me. You're good to go for VR and you're good to go for AR. If you win the equipment lottery, which was due today, by the way, I'll have the results for you soon, then you might be able to complete the course without coming to campus. Okay? Nice. Not too bad. How many of you have a Windows machine computer but an iOS phone? Okay. This is hard mode. Welcome to the hardest mode that we've got. Okay? It's not too bad. You'll be fine, but just know that. So for VR assignments, you'll be fine. But for AR, you will run into the fact that you cannot build apps for your device unless you have access to a Macintosh. Windows laptop, not going to cut it. So you either buy a Mac or find one from a friend, or you can go to Groundworks across the hall. They have Macintosh systems that allow you to build the app to your own device, and you'll be good, okay? And this is just how Apple rolls. There's not a whole lot we can do about this. Okay, how many of you have a Mac and an Android? None of you? Oh, interesting, okay? That was me for a while, too. Anyway, I really like Android. It's good stuff. Yeah, this is an easy situation. Okay, you can build Android apps from a Mac, and the problem with that is that you have to use the Viz Studio because a Mac cannot do VR stuff generally. Same thing with a Mac plus iOS. You're really good for the AR assignments. It's going to be super easy for you, but the VR stuff, you're going to have to use these machines. Not the end of the world. These machines are really nice. Okay, if you are a Linux user, then you are used to pain and punishment. And you're going to figure it out, and I don't have to help you at all. You'll figure it out. Okay, so but this is the kind of stuff you run into. Okay, if you're saying, Austin, I want to do game dev, this platform pain matrix isn't a thing because it doesn't matter what you have. If you want to do game dev, you can just do it. Linux, Mac, Windows, it's all good. That's just it's a field. It's such a beaten, trodden path that it's basically just crystal by now. Okay, it's very smooth, not a big deal. XR, though, you got to be careful. Okay, let's talk about the Viz Studio, this special space that we're currently in. It has some really good hardware, okay? The hardware in these machines is significantly better than what I've been using since like 2017, my GTX 1060, and even that chip was really good. These machines are very good. They're very fast. They run Unreal very well. And you've got a lot of very expensive headsets on the desks in front of you, VR headsets. What's even more, I think I put this in here, what's even more is that we've got help for all this stuff. So when you're doing something unique in Unreal or the headset disconnects or has a hardware issue, you walk up there, you've got a lot of knowledge that can help you fix it. If there's someone at the front desk, Nikki will help you. Nikki, you've taken this course, haven't you? Yep. 440? Yeah. Nikki's taken all my courses. Yep, she got all my stickers. So, well done. All right. 24/7 access, I've given all of your credentials, well, not your credentials, I don't have those, but your unique names and your names to the staff. So all of you should be able to swipe your M card at the door to get in. make sure you're swiping your M card the correct way. I usually mess that up and I can't get in. 24/7 access, okay? If it's crowded in here, sometimes the architecture students are in here and hogging the place. Usually we're hogging the place. You can come in late or later and there will be no one here. You'll be all good. It's a great place for office hours. That's where ours are. It's a pretty plentiful space. We got plenty of machines for, I think, the entire course. And it is fairly quiet, okay, when someone isn't giving a lecture. But there's some cons to the space as well. It has a very strange method of doing storage, okay? All of these machines in here are networked in their drives. Their storage disks are networked together. And so that's good, but it's also nasty, all right? I'll tell you about that in a bit. It's also very security conscious in this laboratory, which means that running your software is a little bit weird. I think some of you discovered this for tutorial VR, but you have to go through a Kane software portal to get the software cloned onto the local machine, and then you can run it. Otherwise, it will not open. You won't be able to find it, okay? There's also travel distance, so it takes a while to get up here if you don't live up here. There's also, people have told me it smells weird, like on North Campus. I think they're just memeing the UVM subreddit or something. I think it's super clean in here. I think it's great. Equipment limits and sound limits. Yeah, so you gotta be a little bit careful with these headsets. You don't wanna beat them up. Don't let the cables hit the floor. Don't roll over them, right? Otherwise, I get yelled at. Not the first time. Let's talk about these two things. These are the most relevant to you, all right? The odd storage situation. So if you go to your files, just click on a random file somewhere on your computer. There's a very good chance if you go to the properties, you'll see a location of that file in a really weird place. Like, what on earth is this? It's -- or / engine.labs.mstorage.umich.edu aarger windat v2 videos. The heck is that? Okay, is that a real place? The answer is yes, kind of. So this is a networked location, all right? This is a file that exists on a networked drive, which means that it's going to be replicated to any computer, any Kane computer on campus. If you go to the fishbowl on Central Campus and log in, you'll be able to find that file. It'll pull it down, it'll synchronize it over there for you. It's really cool. The problem is it's very slow and it's just very unoptimized. It's very nasty, okay? If you accidentally put important files onto a networked drive in this course, you will get wrecked, okay? Your projects will load super slowly. They will crash. It'll be very nasty. They might get corrupted. Don't do that, okay? And use version control in case disaster strikes. So virtualization, good for security and decentralized computing. You can get your software and files anywhere on campus. It's super cool. This really messes up applications, which were usually not built with this in mind. Unreal Engine was not built to support a networked drive and the slowness that entails, okay? So, for instance, if you try and take that path that I just showed you and you put it into the Unreal Engine, like create a project, it's going to be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not even going to let you start, okay? What you have to do here is you have to click on this little folder and you can browse to a new location. What you should probably do as a rule of thumb in this course is you want your files and projects to be local to the machine. Use the traditional C drive, okay? That is a local drive. It's going to be really fast. It's going to work normally, okay? Unreal and applications will be just chill with that. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Well, the local C drives get wiped every week. And I don't remember when in the week that happens. It could be while you're working. I hope not. Anyway, this is what you do. You go and say, hey, I want to put my project on the C drive like normal. Go to users, go to my user, aarger, and just put it somewhere in there, okay? And you're probably good, okay? That's the solution I recommend. Another problem is that it's local to the computer only, so getting it off the computer is a bit tough. It gets wiped every week. One solution is to have a flash drive, okay? That way you can grab your project, put it onto the flash drive. When you come in the next day, put the flash drive in, get it back onto the next machine, and you're good, okay? You can work from that new machine, not a huge deal. What happens when you have partners? What happens when we get to your projects, though? What's the best way to deal with this using what you know from other courses? Yeah, use Git, okay? If you don't know how to use version control, this is a really good time to start. Some students who don't want to use it use Dropbox or whatever, or Google Drive. I recommend either flash drive, or I recommend probably Git, okay? Use version control. What you do is you have a central repository in the cloud where your project lives. When you go to a new computer, okay, you don't know what computers will be available. You just have to go to the one that's open. Hey, your project isn't there. Clone it to the local C drive, okay? Use the command prompt or use GitHub for desktop. Clone it down like that, and hey, it's there. You can work. When you're done, you push the changes, move to a new computer the next day. No big deal. Clone it back down, you're good. Yes? I don't think the SSH key is shared, no. So what you might do is, I think you could set up your own SSH key, you could generate it, or what you could do is you could just go with the username and password approach. Probably the best for kind of temporary machines like that. Okay, so yes, I highly recommend using the application called GitHub Desktop, okay? How many of you use Git on occasion, okay? How many of you feel really comfy and confident with Git? You can solve any merge conflict, solve anything. If you are a bit less confident in Git, then this is an amazing application, GitHub Desktop. It's on the machines, you can use it. GitHub Desktop can be used with any Git repository, even GitLab, okay? Even your own hosted repositories. And the program has a good UI. It also is really good at managing like credentials and permissions. So if you ever have issues like I do, getting the permissions, getting the SSH key to work, it will help you with that a great deal. It can fix things for you. Yeah, it's a good diff tool as well. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a bit less comfortable with Git and all that stuff. Help you set up repos, help you get connected to them. So anyway, yeah, check it out. And you can use that with GitLab. You probably don't want to use GitHub in this course. Why? Yeah.
Because of large file sizes.
Bingo. GitHub, the repository. So GitHub for desktop is an application that's great. You should use it. The cloud service, GitHub, is kind of evil when it comes to Unreal and Unity projects. You will get halfway through the project and you'll start getting errors. Oh, you can't push anymore. You can't push your changes. Why? Well, it's because your project has gotten too big and some of the individual files in these game engines have gotten too big. So now, sorry, we're just not going to let you push unless you do what? Oh, yeah. Time to make some money. Okay? You can pay some money, I think, to upgrade to a new plan, and then they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're good now. So GitLab is my recommendation. GitLab is not trying to make money yet. They are still just burning investor cash. That's the best time to use a company's services when they're not focused on squeezing you for cash. So anyway, I recommend GitLab for the moment. All right, it's basically just GitHub. You can use it with GitHub for desktop. It's fantastic. It's great. Software limits. When you get onto these computers, you can't launch anything unless you do so through this web page. It's called Kane Apps Anywhere. It's a weird Autodesk product that is meant for the kind of virtualization of software and security, okay? So you will go to this web page, and if you search for things like OBS, right, the video recording software that we are using, hold on, right now, you will find really cool apps. You'll find a VLC, you'll find OBS, you'll find all the engine stuff that we need. You'll find 1,000 versions of Unity and Unreal. Okay, always use the most recent. And in general, in this course, use the most modern version of the engines that exists in this lab. Okay, I'm going to have to look up what that is because it's always changing. But you don't want to move to the latest version of Unreal, but then your teammates have to use the Viz Studio and they don't have it yet. That's a big problem. okay? Someone's losing work if you do that. So be careful. I think 5.3 is in this laboratory for Unreal Engine. That's a really good place to start. They've all been really good since the first one. 5.0 was a nightmare. There are lots of engine versions. Be careful to choose the latest. I think it's 5.4, okay? I'll have to take a look in a bit. 5.4.2. Nice. Okay. Yep, use that one. Okay. Yeah. In the first semester we ran this course, 5.0 had just released. And whoa, what a mess that was. Okay, that thing was crashing every 10 minutes. The students in my first ever run of this course were just, they were troopers. They were fantastic. Anyway, okay, so generally you have to get software installed before it will work. So what you'll do is you'll find the software you want. You'll click the green button. That will actually kind of clone the software down to the local machine, and then you can click it again to run it, okay? That's how it works. And you generally have to install and run stuff this way. Otherwise, you'll run into an admin prompt, at which point you'll have to beg Nikki or Ted in the back room to enter their password and allow you to install it, which they might do if you're really, really nice. Maybe. Also, you might need to launch the engine from the Epic Games Launcher. So actually, you might not search for Unreal Engine. You might search for Epic Games Launcher and then run the engine through that launcher. It is a bit annoying. If you get a crash, see if you can think about a different way to run the software, and that usually works out, okay? Some small annoyances. The first time you create an Unreal project on that machine, it will probably take about 10 minutes to launch, okay? I think that's gotten way better in more recent versions of Unreal, but for a while, in the first semester, it took about 40 minutes to create a new Unreal project. Very annoying, okay? One thing to make the launch process go faster is to get rid of this starter content checkbox. Make sure that's not checked. I think it is checked by default. And that will just dump a ton of things into your project that you don't really need. When you go to run the Oculus devices in here, how many of you created an account and you found developer mode, right? That stuff's kind of annoying. Not super fun. Hopefully you won't have to do that every time. But just know that you will have to do that, okay? You will encounter random crashes on occasion from Unreal Engine and Unity, mostly from Unreal though. And usually you can kind of fix this by switching to a different graphics API in the settings. So it used to be that DirectX 10 or 11, DirectX 11 was a disaster, so we had to switch to 12. Now 12 is a disaster, so we have to switch to 11 and it gets more stable. But just keep in mind, the takeaway here is that if you're having a lot of instability, you can usually fix it by tweaking some things. Okay, the rendering API is one of those things that really helps. If you see this is a crash, okay? It usually doesn't tell you all that much, but sometimes we can help on Piazza, okay? A quick PSA for privacy. So I think 1 year ago, a couple semesters ago, we had a student who logged in to their personal Facebook account on these Meta Quest devices, right? They logged into their Meta account, their Facebook account. They opened up the Facebook Messenger, and then when they were done working for the day, they forgot to log out. Okay? What happens if you forget to log out and someone puts that headset on? Well, I'll tell you, the next person to put on that particular headset saw some things they should not be seeing, okay? Some things coming through Facebook Messenger that you really don't want the public seeing. Anyway, so this is to say that you won't automatically be logged out when you leave the studio. Future users will be able to read your DMs, which you might not like so much. And so make sure that, especially if you've got spicy content in some of those channels, make sure that you log out, verify that, okay? Double check it, whatever you need to do before you go and scar some of our hardworking staff members, okay? Okay, this might sound pretty bad because I've mainly been complaining for the last 10 minutes or so, but it really isn't that bad, okay? Life at the bleeding edge comes with friction, and when a new technology comes about, right, that's just always going to be the case. right? In the world of computing, early computing, we didn't have debuggers. We did not have these highly iterative digital systems. We had punch cards. And what's more, the computers were so expensive that you had to timeshare with other people to test your punch cards, right? So you would have your program written up, and you might have to wait for an hour to test it, only to discover that you made a tiny little mistake, and now you have to redo the entire thing. All right? What a massive pain. But that pain, that era is where the legends were made, right? That was an era of people who could really, really make a difference, okay? No one else could fight through that pain. So a question, does anyone know what this is right here? My game engine architecture students know all about this. This is the website itch.io, a place where you can get free games. In particular, all of the cells here you see are a different game. These are all of the games that released on itch.io on February 18th, 2021 before 3 p.m. The day wasn't even over yet, and that many games had been released on that day. And I know this because that's my game. Okay? I got buried. Because if you're making a video game, a traditional video game, in 2024, that's what's going to happen to you. You will get buried. It is such a frictionless, easy process to make games these days that everyone is doing it. Okay? And the effort now is how do you stand out? Oh, it's so difficult, right? It's difficult to make a well-designed game, but to make any game, not hard. Okay? And this is the problem you face when you stay on the beaten path. All right? You want to stay in web dev, you want to stay in game dev where it's nice and comfy and convenient and there's no friction, it's so safe. Well, this is what you have to deal with. Endless crowds, endless competition. It's terrifying. One of my friends, Nathan Hainish, he's the lead engineer at Stardock in Plymouth. It's our state's largest video game studio. He said modern game dev often feels like yelling into the void. And he's right. And I felt it. Okay? And you will too. Nothing bleeding edge about indie game dev. It's all very convenient. The competition as a result is massive, and your ability to have an impact is almost zero, okay? A quick story for you. It's 2015, all right? I'm in San Francisco. I'm working in electronic arts, right? One of the best things about San Francisco is that at any given day, there will be at least 2 hackathons going on somewhere in the area that you can go to, even if it's a holiday. Okay? And that's pretty fun. You can go and get experience with new technologies that are coming out. You can go win prizes. You can go learn about new tech. It's great. Improve as a programmer. So I'm at Electronic Arts, and I bring some of my colleagues with me, and we're going to a Gear VR hackathon, a Samsung Gear VR hackathon. Okay? This is the Gear VR, right? Now, this was a really cool device. The idea here is that we're going to make the computing power and the graphics and the monitor come from your phone. So you take your phone and you strap it to the back of this headset like this. You just kind of put it right in, and then it holds the device against your face. It tells the device, the software, to create multiple screens, right? Render twice, do all the things to make VR come to life, the stereoscopy. Okay? And we went to this hackathon. Now, at this hackathon, there were some prizes, okay? There were some very big prizes. We wanted to win if we could, but there were a lot of teams. We didn't know if we could. 10 grand, okay? 10 grand in prizes for this hackathon. Not too bad, huh? So we really wanted to win. Now, this was a 24-hour hackathon, and I'll tell you, the software, the tooling, the headset was awful. The Gear VR had just been released to the public, and none of the tools worked, okay? It was a disaster. The guides were nasty. The documentation was really hard to use. The plugins we were supposed to use for Unity were just not working for us. This was a 24-hour hackathon, okay? But it took us about 16 hours to get the first thing running. Okay, 16 hours of debugging, and then finally we can make our game. Oh, we only have like 8 hours to make our game. We're dead tired. Oh, this is a disaster. So we make our game in 8 hours. Guess what we make? We make this right here. This is a 2D version shown on the laptop. It's a game called Cube Runner Chaos. It's a sloppy game in which you kind of run to chase a UFO. You can tap on a button on your temple of the headset to shoot a ray every once in a while to knock something out of your way. But if you touch anything, we send you flying like this, which is the worst thing you can do to anyone in VR. And we stole the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. So you'd be looking around to aim in VR and then tapping your temple to shoot stuff out of the way. And then when you lose, you puke, basically. Okay? So this game is scuffed. All right? We made it super fast, and sometimes you can just get unlucky, and it's impossible to avoid some stuff. Oops, we accidentally spawned a bunch of stuff, and you can't get out of the way. You're doomed. Sorry. That's not good game design. You do that in 494, you're getting in trouble, okay? We won. We won. It wasn't even close. We crushed the competition, and we walked away with 10 grand, okay? You know why? Because we were the only team that got anything to run. The friction was so high, all of our competitors gave up, okay? They only had basically drawings of what they would have done if everything worked. That was their hackathon. They didn't even make something that ran. We were able to get it running after much pain, okay? And as a result, we won. We won with a product that wasn't even that great, okay? And that is the situation. Sometimes when you venture off the beaten path, right? When you go someplace new, some new technology, okay? There's so much friction. It's nasty. It eats at you. It saps your morale and your energy. You might barely make it through. But if you do make it through, all your competition is going to be gone. It's just going to be you and maybe a couple other teams. That's it, all right? And so keep that in mind, all right? You're not going to have a ton of impact in indie game dev these days. But what new technology is out there? You know, XR, but generative AI, okay? What difficult challenge can you take on that's going to wipe everyone else out? That's how you have actual impact, okay? You're exploring in a dim, poorly lit cave, okay? And everyone else is staying where the tourists are, all right? But you're exploring off the beaten path for the treasure in the dangerous area. Now, let me say this. I walked away with 10 grand in the form of a JavaScript scholarship, a JavaScript bootcamp scholarship. They, let's just say their technology wasn't the only thing I was mad at, all right? They duped me. They said 10 grand. What did they do? They gave us, I think, $2,000 in Amazon gift cards, and then about 8 grand in a JavaScript bootcamp scholarship I did not care about or need at all. The good news, though, is that the 2 grand in Amazon gift cards, like that is basically cash, okay? That's more or less cold hard cash, so that was pretty cool, but we did feel like we got duped. So, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, I have some final tips for you, okay, as you embark on what might be a slightly frictionful journey, okay? It's not too bad, but there might be some, okay? Do your best to use personal devices in this course. The Vis Studio is amazing, but if you need to install some special stuff or make some configuration changes, you probably can't do it in here. And if you can, you're going to lose those changes when tomorrow you have to go to a different machine. Because maybe some kid is sitting there and you're like, oh, you either have to fight them or you have to go to a different machine. So try and use personal devices if you can, because you can customize them and get things working really well, but it's not required. Don't forget about the equipment lottery. Okay, I'm actually going to announce the winners pretty soon. Don't be afraid of the Vis Studio because it is a great space. Figure out how you're going to do version control and how you're going to get data around as early as possible. What I recommend, use GitHub Desktop as your client on your local machine, but then create a GitLab repository in the GitLab cloud, okay? Fantastic combination, seems to work for most people really well. Important for projects, less so for the next couple weeks. You'll be fine without it, but get experience with this for the project. Unity and Unreal both have good gitignore files that will help make your repos much cleaner. For instance, there's a bunch of very big folders you don't need to push in Unity. If you push them, you're going to be very sad. Same thing for Unreal. Get these gitignores going as soon as you can. Don't forget that they exist. Definitely use them, okay? Settle on one version of Unity on Unreal, ideally a version that exists in here so that teammates who use the VizStudio can use it, and try and use that everywhere, okay, even at home. Critical for teams, try and start your assignments as soon as possible, because sometimes you will run into weird hardware and software issues because you're at the bleeding edge. Sometimes things just don't work for weird reasons. Turn it off again, turn it on again. Sometimes you have to go to the forum. Sometimes GPT can help you. Sometimes I can help you debug it. The more time you give yourself, okay, on your assignments, the faster you can find those issues and the better chance you have of knocking through them, of pushing through them. If you find one of these nasty hardware issues or software issues with 4 days left in the assignment, you're golden. You're going to figure it out. If you discover these issues the night before it's due, you will have a terrible night and you'll be very cranky, okay? That will not be good, so don't do that. Start your assignments early so that you can run into problems early and solve them. Don't have any shame in requesting help, and remember our chain of help, okay? Some issue occurs 15 to 10 minutes, Google for the solution, ask GPT. At the 20-minute mark, ask Piazza, and then take it to office hours if you need to, okay? Be good and grateful to the VizStudio staff. This is a great space, and they work extremely hard just for you, okay? There used to be not a ton of people using the VizStudio. They want you in here. They want you using it. They are here for you, okay? And a lot of resources have gone into making this possible. This is the kind of course that really isn't possible at MSU, not possible at a lot of places. The hardware just is too difficult to acquire, and yet we have $1,500 headsets just lying out, okay? You can grab them, you can use them, try not to break them, okay? It's amazing. Really quickly, Tales from Groundworks, then we'll get you out of here, okay? Right across the hall is Groundworks. It's right in there. It's kind of a cool Mac area. They've got a recording booth. It's really great. They have Unity. They have Xcode. These are pretty much all the things you need. They got Visual Studio. All the things you need to deploy to your mobile phone if you've got an iPhone, okay? Pretty much only place on campus with developer-friendly Macs. Amazing for iOS. If you have a problem, they also have people sitting at the desk who might be able to help you or enter their credentials to help you install something. Good for students with iOS device. Super important if you don't have a Macintosh yourself. Try and use one machine repeatedly because there's a good chance they'll have all of your data from the previous session. And it only wipes, I think, once a week, okay? So yeah, there you go. Everyone, that's all I've got for you. I wish you good luck on these assignments. It's a tough week. Get started as soon as you can. Things will get a bit easier in a week or so. And I will see you tonight for our HoloLens session, beginning at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 o'clock. And after that, I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Okay, everyone online, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.